bag is on its way. Put your mask on before helping others.
Yeah, so McLovin did really good flying. We flew into Denver and stayed the night in Denver. She was just seemed kind of shocked about her new surroundings. This was basically McLovin's first time out of the house in 2 years. Girl, McLovin, you ready to see your first set of storms in the Midwest? Yeah, McLovin's mad at me, so she's burrowing her face in her pillow. Because she has to wear... Oh, poor McLovin has to wear a harness so you don't get killed by a rattlesnake. Yeah, I like to verbally abuse and demean my dog. So we started the day chasing a storm that was severe warned just south of Amarillo. It quickly weakened, and then we moved on to this storm just north of Amarillo that had tornado, at least one tornado reported the next day. This was a really beautiful supercell. The outflow kept creating additional storms that made it hard to sort of stay still, so we were always on the move a lot. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's the funnel. Holy shit. And McLovin's just sleeping. So the storm goes tornado warned at this point, and McLovin's doing surprisingly well. Not too scared. Storm's tornado warned. And this is where it gets pretty crazy. Right here, I'm coming up north onto the rotation. I actually passed a bunch of storm chasers, which made me question whether I should keep going. But I ended up in a really good position for this. You could really see the rotation. The video here really doesn't do justice of how close we were. But if it dropped a tornado, it would have been just the perfect, I think, the perfect position for some amazing video. But it's also probably good it didn't drop right here, although you can see the rotation and the funnel coming up. It's it's like a suburban area right here, lots of homes, lots of people outside their homes are watching. Cool. Right there you can really see the funnel and the rotation. And then then I try to get into a better position. I just couldn't really stay very organized. I mean, ideally, it starts feeding into itself and becomes tornadic, right? So, but it kept creating other storms. The outflow just kept going into other storms, and other storms were popping up. But I continued to try to follow the main circulation. And actually, it's right around here coming up that there was a tornado reported the next day. you like chasing storms? Not so much. So yeah, here I was just wrapping up, and I turned around to find a hotel and call my son to wish him a happy birthday. And while I was on the phone, I recorded this. I didn't see it until I saw the video. And then looking at the tornado report, I am almost certain that that was a tornado because it was reported at the same time. And that was definitely the exact location, either that one or this one up here. You'll see the shape. Anyway, so I go to Dairy Queen, and then I start heading south to my hotel, and then this happens. There's a tornado warning. Just where I was at, I just left the Dairy Queen thinking the storm died down, but that's pretty severe rotation. So I'm driving back just to see. It was funny too, at the Dairy Queen, the lady was going slow as the rotation was like moving almost directly over us in Panhandle, Texas, and I was getting impatient. And in my head, I was like, I hope a tornado hits you, just kind of joking, right? And then the tornado warning happened. I got right up on the rotation, but it was so dark, it's hard to tell. Some of the shapes looked like they could have been tornadoes. So day 3 was pretty cool. I decided to target down near San Angelo, Texas, and my friend from Olympia just happened to be visiting his mom in Sweetwater, who was really nice, and she let me stay at her hotel that she owns there in Sweetwater. But yeah, I then picked up my friend Dave, and we went just south of San Angelo near Cristoval, Texas.
Yeah, see, all you gotta do is have to like just stand around.
Yeah, I got that.
That's coming right at us. See how fast that shit's moving? That's a funnel. Holy shit, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about right fucking there?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is kind of funny. Like I would have thought it was a tornado too, but I honestly thought it was an inflow tail. But before I educated myself, but I let David think it was a tornado because it looked like it was like moving right at him, and I pointed it out, and it almost looked like it was like reaching out to him slowly, and it looked way closer than it did in the video. But yeah, that was pretty funny. And then. Great storm. I don't think any tornado was reported, but great lightning show. We get some awesome lightning shots. There was a train of storms coming from the west to San Angelo, and we were trying to get back to Sweetwater, north to Sweetwater. So we opted to drive through this first storm to avoid the train of storms because it was almost certainly going to flood. And sure enough, there was reported about a foot to a foot and a half over the roadways in San Angelo. But it wasn't too bad. Just really awesome lightning shots. And we went through a couple hail cores. That was a little sketchy, but nothing too crazy. So stayed the night in Sweetwater, Texas, and the next day opted to go to Lubbock for a couple days to wait for some severe weather and keep us in good position. I took McLovin to Metro Towers in Lubbock, Texas. It was hit by an F5. Apparently it's still twisted. There's a lot of stories about it on YouTube you can check out. But it also just so happened that we accidentally stayed at the first hotel I had stayed at in Lubbock, Texas in 2019 when I first went storm chasing with the storm tour group. And yeah, they have the best hot tub there. I'm all about hot tubs. So this day, I started in Tulia, Texas, just north of Lubbock. We were leaving toward Clarendon, and then the storm popped up right above Tulia as we were leaving, and it looked like it almost was going to drop a tornado. But then we opted to go more north toward Clarendon on this storm. A severe warned storm headed to us. So the setup the entire week was pretty much the same and kept me in the Panhandle area, which is really weird for this time of year. But part of the way the setup was just a lot of storms popping up. Very hard to get an isolated supercell. We got some great rotation here of a mesocyclone. After this, we decided to drive back to the hotel in Lubbock and watch some of the storms along the way. So I'm on the back side of this huge line of storms, and I started seeing mammatus clouds, which are really cool. And then I get a really beautiful sunset, and I capture some good shots of the storms on the canyons, and back to Lubbock. Yeah, funny story. After it got dark, about 20 minutes away from Lubbock, I stopped at Dairy Queen, and then I go to my hotel and I can't find my credit card, and Dairy Queen closes at 10 and it's like almost 10, so I like race back in a panic to Dairy Queen as we're already closed and we're wrapping up, getting ready to leave, and I got my credit card back. So yeah, that was kind of weird they didn't give it back to me, but that definitely could have ruined the trip. So beautiful sunset, and then the next day here we chase in the same area. We actually go chase really close to Morton, Texas, where my son and I chased last year and saw the Morton, Texas tornado. But here we're close to, I think, Muleshoe in Sudan, Texas, on this rapidly rotating supercell. See that funnel coming out? Yeah, it's up straight up there. Yeah, it's starting to come out. See if it keeps going. I gotta get closer. Yeah, definitely a funnel cloud, which is cool, and I was in a great position, but it unfortunately never dropped. You can see it continued to spin, but then other storms popped up. Unfortunately, with this setup, it's been hard for me to get an isolated supercell. So at this point, other storms were interfering. I saw an isolated supercell pop up northeast of me, and I start heading that way and watching the storms to my south. So this was the isolated supercell I chased after, but by the time I got there in plain view, another supercell storm was popping up and merging with it to its east near Floydada. So as you can see, that's the one over Floydada, Texas, and I start heading over there and catch a pretty amazing show, but other storms continue to pop up and merge with it, and get some really good rotation and a nice wall cloud here. So yeah, that was a pretty well-defined wall cloud with some cool spin-ups in front of it, and then another supercell blew up and started to merge with it, and it started to reorganize and intensify here. At this point, the hail core, a hail core is moving over us. I'm trying to get out of its way, get into a better position to watch the storm. So I get some good footage of lightning on these storms, and I'm starting to see the theme of the storm trip is different than what I'm used to. It's like the storm merger Texas Panhandle vacation. It just seems like the way the environment is, that's kind of how the setup is, and a big part of it is in the past, like I've counted on that upper level jet in certain spots of the dry line to instigate storms and to target isolated supercells, but no luck so far, and it doesn't look like in the forecasting that that's going to change. Yeah, these are some great shots of McLovin here. She's done really good overall. She didn't seem really scared of the lightning or the thunder, really. Even the winds were pretty strong this day. But it wasn't until the next day that we got in some really high winds, and it got a little sketchy. Yep, so after the light show, we head back to the awesome hotel in Lubbock, Texas. And just message me if you want to know which hotel it is. I don't think a lot of people like it. It's not like super fancy. It's got the best hot tub and a hot tub room. And they're really pet friendly, which was awesome. Yeah, there's some crazy shapes in this storm, and some are questionable to me what they are, but anyway, yeah, we head back to that hotel, and I think there was an enhanced risk area by the Storm Prediction Center for the next day in northeastern New Mexico. Girl. You're in New Mexico. First time in New Mexico. Yeah, so we finally get out of the Texas Panhandle, which is crazy. I'm usually going across a state or two every day on my storm trips. And this is a storm over Tucamcari, and it kept triggering storms all around it and merging with it. It was just a monster of merger of storms. Yeah, so this part actually scared me, and the video doesn't really do justice of how everything looks smaller in the video. It was actually right in front of me, but I believe it was a little spin up from the gust front, but some of these gust front winds were reported to be like 70, 80 miles per hour and blew vehicles off the road. So anyway, I get to the top of this hill and I see what looks like potentially developing tornado heading right to me. I think it was probably just a gust front spin up.
I might be a tornado.
Yeah, but some of these gust front winds were 70, 80 mile per hour winds, and as you can see, blew vehicles off the road.
Oh, God. Dude, 2 semis.
Wow, McLovin wants to stay in her little backpack for this one. So here I'm catching up to the storm, recording the base of the storm as other storms are developing around me, and the winds were very strong. This is the craziest storm I have been ever chased, honestly. It was just hard to stay still. It was I was constantly having to move. The rotation was changing constantly. And there were several tornadoes reported in this storm as well. I believe most of them were rain wrapped. And so you can judge for yourself at times where I may have caught the tornado. So at this point I can see several other storms popping up on all sides of me, merging with it. I decide to go back and go around and meet it at the southeast point of the storm. So I was focused on that weird cloud structure there on that plateau, and actually I believe that was a tornado there, although you can't see it if you look on Reed Timmer, his live stream on this date. There he catches a tornado coming off that lowering there on the plateau. Yeah, Reed Timmer's footage is crazy. He's like right in the center of that. His windshield gets smashed and he gets cut. So there were several tornadoes reported in the storm, and I think I got some on video, although it starts getting dark and it was rain wrapped, but some of the lightning strikes, you can kind of see what's going on in there. And yeah, I'm heading south at this point on this, and staying on the southwest side of the storm as it's getting dark. And as it gets dark, I finish my chase around Melrose, New Mexico, and I head south to Roswell, New Mexico to get a hotel. And actually the third year in a row, I ended up chasing in Roswell, staying in Roswell. Still haven't seen any aliens, but yeah. And I also get so exhausted by the storm, like I really needed a second person with me for this storm. It was a lot, and I decided to risk the more certain storm the next day to try to get an isolated supercell, and ended up in a bust, as you'll see. But yeah, I don't really regret it. This storm really wore me out chasing solo. This is crazy. A blue lightning strike. And I'm not going to get into what a blue lightning strike means, but you can Google it. I think Pecos Hank has a YouTube video on blue lightning, what that means. So as you can see on the map, I started going northeast, and then I saw on my forecast a potential isolated supercell right down there south of me.
Only eat it if I like put a piece down at a time. No.
Yeah, so this is just a time lapse basically of storms trying to fire up and a stout cap preventing them from breaking through. I get a great sunset though. But yeah, this is what storm chasers call a bust, and I was actually okay with it. There were definitely more severe storms up north, but I was so exhausted from the night before. Anyway, I felt rejuvenated and stayed in Artesia, New Mexico, and decided to target Vaughn, New Mexico, near Albuquerque, just east of Albuquerque. And this is a tornado-warned storm I was on just north of Vaughn. There were actually 3 storms. There were 2 storms to the west of the tornado-warned storm, and I decided to drop back south and west and get on the tail end of the trailing storm as they were all moving east. Sure enough, it started to ramp up and became tornado-warned, and I finally get a clear tornado. One frustrating aspect of it, though, was right before the tornado clearly drops in front of me. I would have been a lot closer, but some passerbys stopped, and as you'll see, and we're asking for help and directions to avoid the storm. Look at this hailstone.
Yeah.
Are you?
This went tornado warned.
Yeah, so you're welcome to trail me if you'd like. That was the biggest hail I've ever seen in person or held in my hand from a storm. But yeah, I was really just a great position for this as the tornado drops. And yeah, actually, Storyful media outlet actually had me sign a contract for the video and said they'd give me a portion of any profits. We'll see what happens.
There it is. In front of a rainbow.
Beautiful. Beautiful tornado. Hell yeah. Finally. Beautiful. This is what I came out for. Beautiful tornado. Look at that. Oh, it's going back up. It'll come down. Yeah, and I just, I can't tell you how excited and relieved and just in awe of that tornado felt all at the same time, just with all the work in forecasting and driving, and it's just so awesome to see that. And at this point, it was also an anti-cyclonic tornado, by the way. So at this point, I'm continuing to follow the storm. I got those passerbys following me, trying to help guide them to get out of there, but the road's blocked by this train. Did you see that? Right with the rainbow? That was awesome. So yeah, now I'm heading back to Vaughn. I was like, oh, that's Reed Timmer right there. That was Reed Timmer. And I thought that was a police car, but it was another storm chaser that has lights. Anyway, I also ran into another storm chaser, and then this storm also popped up again in Encino, New Mexico, where I saw the tornado. It weekend, and then I drove back to Roswell on the way and watched a couple storms off in the distance with the coolest American flag I've ever seen.
You feeling sick? Or are you just homesick?
Yeah, beautiful Supercell here. I was already very tired from my trip, and I made the mistake of turning onto a dirt road with no service for like an hour, and it just kind of ruined the rest of my night, as you'll see. But wow, what a beautiful Supercell. And I almost caught another rainbow tornado here.
It's paved.
Yeah, I was totally clear when I first turned on the road, and then it once it turned into dirt and it was very muddy in spots. Two other storms popped up on both sides of me, and I barely made it to pavement just before the storms got to me. And at this point, I'm fully exhausted and wanting to get a hotel in Las Vegas, New Mexico, to get ready to head back to the Denver airport tomorrow. Storm, I'm trying to go north to Denver between this storm and then there's this guy right here. I don't know if you can see it. See that little funnel? Tire pressure low. Probably from the gravel road. Oh, man, the tire pressure is dropping on this thing. I get to a gas station. I'm over storm chasing for the week. Yeah, I definitely wasn't happy at this time, but this is a really pretty Supercell here. I unfortunately wasn't able to appreciate it. I was so cranky, and I was losing air in my tire, and things will get worse, as you can see. But I bleeped myself out quite a bit, but in hindsight, looking at it now, it actually cracks me up. I was understandably upset, and I think some storm chasers can relate. Just earlier, on my live stream, like, oh, look behind me, it's totally clear. 10 minutes later, there's like two Supercell storms closing in on me out of nowhere. Dirt road. First of all, this is a radar dead zone. The storm is clearly bigger than it's showing on radar. No idea how big. You know, you see lightning, just these quick f***ing shapes. Yeah, how do you get your bearing on these f***ing night storms? Fucking radar out here. No Jesus Christ. Just no tell. Yeah, this storm chaser stopped right behind me. I can pull it over for a minute. Everything looks like a tornado at night. I really wasn't a fan of northeastern New Mexico, especially chasing out there. There's just like no cell service. I swear I was the only person not on methamphetamine in Las Vegas, New Mexico. And I was just worried my tire was gonna pop or something. I just hope I have some air in the morning to get air in the tire, and then I'm just gonna keep stopping at gas stations and filling up air until I get there. So my flight in Denver is at 4 p.m. I'm 350 miles away in Las Vegas, New Mexico. As you saw, my tire was completely flat. Avis car rental, roadside assistance wouldn't answer, and there was no jack with the spare tire, so I slowly drove it across the street to the gas station, filled it with air. Somehow it worked, and I somehow made it to the airport barely in time. Luckily, it was delayed 15 minutes, the flight, because of storms, of course. And as you can see, I actually got a storm chase from the plane. This is a severe warning storm. As me and McLovin were flying out, and she was so happy to be back home, for sure. It was quite a little too much adventure for her. I'm learning a lot and getting better at chasing, and I love it, and I look forward to going again next year. Thanks for watching.